best 23 for Gold Coast. We'll start with the back line. So Powell, Collins, Mac Andrew, Connor Bedard, Charlie Ballard, and Darcy McPherson.
Yeah, it's probably their weakness, the Suns. Not to say it's a bad back line, they've just they haven't always been able to play together. I think when you look at someone like Connor Buderick's spent a fair bit of time on the sidelines, Will Powell the same. Mac Andrews only kind of just getting some consistent minutes at the back end of this year. Like Charlie Ballard and Sam Collins are, I think every club would love a duo like that. They probably just want someone to like a third tall, which is what Andrew might be, but just so Ballard gets a bit more freedom, can play more as an intercept option. Dusty McPherson and halfback, I think he's probably locked in for a starting spot after a pretty consistent year this year. You might get Lockie Weller playing a bit off halfback. Rory Atkins as well off the bench we have, and then Ben Long as a sub, so they've got a few options there. And they pick up guys like Will Graham and Joel Jeffrey, some other guys that can play across the back line as well. But yeah, it's probably just the area that they might struggle with the most. I guess it's particularly when you're looking at how good their midfield group is and a pretty promising forward line. But there's certainly a lot to work with. They've got some decent depth options, but Caleb Graham might be another one after spending the whole year in the VFL. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I would have liked to have seen them probably add to their back line a bit over the off season. They bring in Ethan Reid, who's more of a ruck but could play behind the ball. But I guess it's probably too similar to Mac Andrews. So it's probably the area to watch for them with Damien Hardwick coming in.
Yep. And probably one of my favourite lines for Gold Coast. So the midfield, so Witts in the ruck, Noah Anderson, Matt Rowell, and then Tuke Miller, and then Brendan Ellis and Lockie Weller on the wings.
Yeah. It's strong, isn't it? Like hopefully if they can all get a good run, like we know the injury history for Weller, Miller was spent a lot of time out this year. Matt Rowell is finally playing some full seasons, which is good. Brendan Ellis has been ever reliable on the wing, and Noah Anderson was, like a top 10 finisher in the Brownlow this year. So they've got a lot of really good pieces in that midfield group. Add in someone like Sam Flanders off the bench. David Swallow can probably get a run through there, but probably play a bit more in the forward line. And then, they drafted Jake Rogers, who could get a good look at AFL level in his first year with the Suns. But that three of Miller, Rowell and Anderson at the feet of Jared Witts is a pretty good position to have, and Damien Hardwick's going to be pretty helpful with that group, I think, and how he got the best out of some of Richmond's mids. So that's their top line by far.
Yeah,
I think.
Absolutely. And then rounding out the year forward, so Bailey Humphrey, Jack Lukosius, Ben Ainsworth, Malcolm Roses, Ben King, and Nick Holman.
Yeah, Humphrey was probably one I should have mentioned in the midfield group, but he'll probably play that half forward, balance between those two thirds a fair bit. As you mentioned, Ben King and Jack Lukosius combined for 80 goals, or almost 80 goals this year. And just given the trajectories they're on, that could definitely get close to 100 next year. Ben King's going to be such a big talking point for them over the next 12 months, given his contract and the level of interest he'll get. But, he's probably looking at a 50-goal season if he can just stay fit. So this will be quite an interesting watch for them and how much they can get out of those two. Levi Casbolt is that probably third tall option in the front third, but Jed Walter's probably one that could push for a starting spot ahead of him. 190 odd centimeters, 90 odd kilos, just really big as a 18-year-old and someone they'll be really excited to see at the top level. So could be between those two for that third tall spot. Malcolm Roses is kind of slotted in nicely into Isaac Rankin's role. They've also got guys like Nick Coleman and Ben Ainsworth, who probably a bit similar and kind of offering just some small forward options. But yeah, Bailey Humphrey there's quite a nice explosive link-up player between the midfield and forward line. And as mentioned before, David Swallow maybe off the bench or as a sub. Just brings some nice experience, a cool head, and knows how to kick goals. And then Huego Awea, Tom Berry, Jai Farah, a few more depth options for them. For that forward line group, so it's not too bad all up.
Yeah, and Humphrey I think came out last week and said that he sees himself as a midfielder.
Yeah, like it's probably fair.
More than a forward.
His draft year is just a really explosive midfielder that kicked heaps of goals, and that's probably a long-term plan. It's just hard when you've got Rowell, Anderson, Miller, and a few others. So like what we saw from him this year was fantastic. He had plenty of centre bounce attendances, and you'd think you'd get a heap more, but he certainly just took took the chance when there was opportunities, given injuries to others.
Yeah. Yeah, the pieces are there. I think they could make a push for finals. What do you reckon?
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think they should be finishing in the top 10. Whether it's the top 8, though, that's going to be a big discussion point, I think, for the Suns and whether they can break into that bracket.
Yeah, it is usually, whoever stays healthiest, and I think they could do it. They could do it, hopefully.